Tonight, we're breaking down a moment that didn't go viral because of shouting, but because of silence. A live press conference, a simple question, and a Speaker of the House who suddenly couldn't defend his own party's narrative. That hesitation, just a few seconds long, may be the most revealing moment of the year. If you're watching this, you're ahead of the curve. You're paying attention while most people scroll past the headlines. So before we start, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because in an election year, information is power. Tonight, we're breaking down a moment that immediately caught the attention of reporters, donors, and political strategists. A brief but telling hesitation from House Speaker Mike Johnson when asked to defend a recent policy announcement from former President Donald Trump. It lasted only a few seconds, but in politics, hesitation can reveal what prepared statements never will. During a press availability, Johnson was asked about Trump's proposal to place a national cap on credit card interest rates, a policy Trump described as a direct response to rising consumer debt and financial stress. Reporters expected Johnson to echo support immediately, as he typically does with Trump-aligned positions. Instead, something unusual happened. Johnson paused. He talked about process. He talked about legislation. He talked about studying the issue. He talked about potential consequences. He talked about consulting economists and committees. He did not say he supported the proposal. He did not say it was moving through Congress. He did not promise a vote. He did not endorse the announcement. In Washington, those distinctions matter. Inside the Capitol, lawmakers and staffers recognized the signal. Johnson was trying to create distance, politely, quietly, and without open conflict. To understand why this moment triggered headlines, you have to understand the roles at play. For years, House Republicans, including Johnson, have largely aligned themselves with Trump's political instincts. It has been an efficient survival strategy inside the GOP. But economic policy is a different terrain. Trump's proposal targeted banks and credit card companies, industries deeply connected to Republican donors, business groups, and financial PACs. And here's the important detail. Financial services are among the top contributors to Republican fundraising. Credit markets involve regulatory complexity. Interest rates depend on Federal Reserve policy. Consumer credit laws require congressional action. So for Johnson, this wasn't just a political question. It was a structural one. He was being asked to publicly commit Congress to a policy with no drafted legislation, no existing enforcement mechanism, no Republican economic consensus, direct donor implications. That tension is what made the pause noticeable. To be fair, Trump tapped into a very real issue. Credit card interest rates have climbed in recent years, with some consumers seeing rates above 25% depending on credit scores and market conditions. Many Americans feel squeezed between wages, inflation, and debt. Populist messaging works because it speaks to pain people are already experiencing. Trump's framing was simple. Credit card rates are too high. Financial institutions are taking advantage of consumers. Government should step in and cap interest rates. Whether someone agrees or disagrees, simplicity is powerful. But governing is not simple. A national interest rate cap would require heavy check-mark congressional legislation, heavy check-mark regulatory coordination, heavy check-mark industry compliance systems, heavy check-mark enforcement frameworks, heavy check-mark potential judicial review. Which brings us back to Johnson's reaction. Johnson was not rejecting the idea outright. That would have been a direct confrontation. Instead, he shifted into institutional language, the language of Congress, committees, and legislative timeframes. Here's the translation for non-DC audiences. We'll study the issue equals no immediate action planned. We need consensus equals the caucus is not unified. We need expert input equals lobbyists and regulators need to weigh in. There could be consequences equals donors and markets are calling. This is how Washington slows a proposal without saying no. Republican strategists immediately noted the significance because Johnson was balancing pressure from the base versus pushback from institutions. Trump operates through announcements and momentum. Congress operates through drafting, negotiation, and risk avoidance. Those worlds frequently collide. And when they do, hesitation is often the first sign. This moment is part of a larger pattern inside the GOP. Trump's politics are improvisational. Congressional politics are transactional. Trump rallies voters through bold declarations. Congress manages donors, industries, and regulatory realities. So when Trump targeted financial institutions rhetorically, the reaction behind closed doors was immediate. Industry groups began asking, is legislation coming? Should we prepare for hearings? Is this symbolic or real? Do we need to call leadership? Donors began asking, will Republicans support this? What is the legislative pathway? Does the party still support deregulation? And Republican leadership began asking, how do we respond without alienating Trump? How do we keep donors from panicking? How do we align messaging without committing? Johnson's answer reflected that balancing act. Democratic lawmakers saw an opening. Progressives have been advocating credit reform for years through usury caps, CFPB enforcement, banking regulations, consumer protections. So instead of dismissing Trump's idea outright, Democrats reframed the issue. If Republicans support lower interest rates, let's draft a bill. If consumer protection is the priority, let's expand oversight. If borrowers need relief, let's negotiate legislation. That strategy forces Republicans into legislative terrain they may not want to enter, because producing a bill means confronting donor interests directly. Democrats are not defending Trump. They are defending the policy conversation, not the rhetoric. A few key takeaways. 1. Populism meets financial reality. Voters may like the idea, but institutions require details. 2. Donor politics collides with retail politics. Financial companies are major contributors, and they pay attention. 3. Leadership is signaling limits. Johnson's pause was not rebellion. It was boundary setting. 4. Spectacle versus governance. Announcements win headlines. Legislation wins outcomes. Here are the plausible paths forward. Path A. Symbolic alignment. Republicans verbally support the sentiment but avoid legislation. Path B. Legislative drafting. A bill is introduced, likely narrow, likely stalled in committee. Path C. Democratic capture. Democrats draft consumer credit bills and force Republicans to take positions. Path D. Market pushback. Industry groups lobby aggressively to prevent caps. Each path has different political consequences. Whether you support Trump's proposal or not, this moment exposed a deeper tension inside the GOP. Not rebellion but hesitation. In politics, hesitation is data. Tells us where the pressure points are. Tells us where the boundaries are. Tells us what leadership fears most. So let me leave you with this question. When campaign promises collide with financial realities, which side wins? Tell me what you think in the comments. If you found this breakdown useful, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who follows politics, because this story is just beginning. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.